Hi, you're listening to the Real Work Stories podcast, and I'm your host, Benjamin. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you. And if you tuned in before, welcome back. Now, this is the podcast where I talk about all things customer service, from the customer to the corporation and everything in between. But before I get started, I got to say thank you to everyone for all your support for the podcast. Thank you for all the likes, shares, comments, downloads. I appreciate it. I only say it every episode because I mean it every episode. And if you don't already follow me on Facebook and Instagram, make sure you do so at Real Work Stories Podcast. That's where you're going to find out about topics, episode snippets, discussions, and more. And today, I want to sort of continue something I started on the last episode. So, in the last episode, I asked a question and I said, have you ever had a customer say something to you that was so disgusting that it made you wonder, like, what is going on or what has gone on in your personal life to make you say that to someone? And it really got me to thinking about some of the other disgusting things that I've had, that I've heard myself come from my customers' mouths. Now, I said possible trigger warning for the last one, definite trigger warning for this one. All right. So I'm giving you a heads up now. You are triggered by offensive things. You might want to skip this one. You might. Okay? Gave you a warning. So this happened quite a while ago. Still working in customer service. Working for the same cell phone company. And at the time, I had not too long before this been promoted to, being a supervisor. So now I take escalated calls. I can do overrides. I got special privileges now. I'm feeling good about myself. And maybe I had been in this role about maybe 6 months or so. And at the time, they were teaching us about making human connections with our customers, which is kind of why I was so baffled when my customer called me subhuman, because I'm like, wow, they actually teach us how to be more human. Anyway, that's besides the point. But yeah, so they teach you things, how to say things in a certain way so you don't appear to be so rigid or robotic. Let your customers know you're still human just like them, And a way that I would do this to make myself seem more human, because for some reason a lot of customers would ask me, do you have kids? And at the time I didn't. Now, you can call me weird for this if you want to, but I had created 2 imaginary kids just to have something to talk about. So in my mind, I had 2 daughters. So when customers ask, do you have kids? Yes, I do. 2 girls, 4 and 6. They were always 2 years apart. It was easier to keep the lie up that way. They were always 2 years apart. I never gave them names. I just said the 6-year-old and the 4-year-old, Look, don't judge me. This is what worked for me at the time, okay? And, that's how I kept that connection going. So now I had something else I could relate to my customers with. So anyway, I get to this phone call one day. One of my agents is like, hey, my customer wants to talk to a supervisor. They're really not having it. I'm like, cool, no problem. Let's see what's going on. So I get on the phone. I'm like, hey, my name's Benjamin. I'm the supervisor. How can I help? What's going on? Long story short, this customer, cell phone bill through the roof. I think his bill was like $400 or $500 a month, something crazy like that, right? And he's like, look, I got to figure out a way to get this bill down. I don't know what to do. Like, I need some help. You got to help me out. And I'm like, okay, cool. I get it. Let's take a look, see what we got going on. This customer, let's call him Steve. All right. So Steve is like, man, I really need some help. And Steve sounds so sincere. Like I said, I'm pretty new to this new role. Only about 6 months in. So I really want to, do everything I can to help Steve out, help him save some money, right? So in the middle of helping him out, we're just making small talk back and forth. I'm like, yeah, so tell me what you use your phones for? What do What are you looking for in your service? What all do you actually need? Let's see if we can try to get rid of some of this stuff, yada, yada, yada. And in the middle of that, Steve says, can I ask you a personal question? And I should have known that this is the point where this conversation was going to take a hard left somewhere I did not want to go. But me trying to appear to be more human, trying to make that human connection, I'm like, sure, personal question, I'm up for it, let's do it. So he says, do you have kids? And just like I rehearsed, almost instinctively, yes, 2 little girls, 4 and 6. Like I said, I practiced this thing down to a T. I'm like, yeah, 4 and 6, boom. Now, had I been thinking more forwardly in this conversation, I would have said to myself, self, don't do this. It's a bad idea. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Leave. This is not a conversation you want to be a part of. But I didn't do that. But oh, how I wish I could go back and just smack myself in the back of the head so I wouldn't walk into this, because this one still kind of haunts me, if I can say it that way. Yeah, this one still haunts me a little bit. Anyway, so he's like, okay, so you do have kids. I'm like, yeah, I got 2 girls, 4 and 6. And he starts telling me about his kids, and, the goals, and the dreams he has for his kids. And he's trying to, get his kids into these kinds of schools and these kinds of, academic programs, yada, yada, yada. And again, Steve sounds so sincere, y'all. And I'm like, man, this guy is, he's a real stand-up guy. He's really trying to do all he can for his kids. And I get it, sir. I'm a dad, just like you. I get it. And then Steve says, yeah, see, that's why I need to get this bill down, because I'm trying to get, these kids into, these programs, these schools, and yada, yada, yada. He said, but it's hard to try to do that because the bill is so high. He said, I'm sorry, it's even hard for me to say, but Steve says to me that his bill is so outrageously high, and it's raping his finances. And he says that it would be the equivalent of somebody raping your 2 daughters. His exact words were, the way you guys are raping me with this bill every month is the equivalent of somebody raping your 2 daughters. And I lost it. I lost my mind. So at that point, all I could do was yell. I yelled. It felt like I yelled at the top of my lungs. I said, sir, that's enough. This call is over. Goodbye. And I walked back to my desk. And I sat there. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, wait, you were on the phone with him. Where were you? Well, at the time where I was working at, we would walk around the building and we would help people. And then we would go back to our desk and, do our supervisory stuff. And then we go back and walk around some more. I was called a walker. That was what I did. I just walked around and helped whoever needed help at the time, right? So I took the phone call at my agent's desk, and then I had to go back to my desk. So I take the call at, my agent's desk, and I go back to my desk, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just staring at a blank computer screen, because I have never had anybody say anything like this to me. And I didn't even know what to do. And it bothered me for like 45 minutes to no end, just like, wait, what did he just say to me? Like, how do you even make that comparison? Like, again, this is my question. What is something that has been said that is so disgusting that it made you wonder, like, what do you do? That comment by Steve made me wonder, sir. But I don't really want to know the answer, you know? It's like, who? I don't even want to say that question, so I'm not going to say that question. I'm not going to ask that question out loud. But it's crazy to think of how much it bothered me then. And now, as a father, I'm like, I still cannot find a way to even try to make that comparison. I told y'all this is a trigger warning. Like, I did not know that I was still bothered by this after all these years. After all these years. Yeah. I'm still bothered by that. I cannot believe this. I am finding this out as I'm talking about it right now. This is crazy. Yeah, I'm still bothered by that. Anyway, y'all, look. I told y'all this is a trigger, because that might be the most terrible thing I think I've ever had said to me. Yeah, that one was bad. That was terrible. I cannot believe that. Okay, so look, y'all have tuned into another episode of the Real Work Stories podcast. Be on the lookout for the next episode Monday. And if you don't already follow me on Instagram and Facebook, please do at Real Work Stories podcast, because I want to know Sadly, I know that someone has a story that's probably just as terrible or more terrible than that. And I want to know. I'm really interested to find out what's the most disturbing thing a customer's ever said to you. So feel free to comment, share, like, all of it. Just all of it. All of it. All of the above. But seriously, let me know. I want to hear your stories. I want to know what's the most, just blatantly, outrageously, most ridiculous thing a customer's ever said to you. And if you don't want to leave it on the post, that's fine. Email me at realworkstoriespodcast@gmail.com. I want to know. But I said it once before. I'm saying it again. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Real Work Stories podcast. Have a good one. Holla.
Stop avoiding your erectile dysfunction issue. Peak Performance for Men is offering your best offer yet. Call today to book your free consultation and free blood flow evaluation. 1-800-210-8181. Peak Performance for Men helps over 80% of men who receive the treatment experience long-term improvement. Let the experts at Peak Performance for Men help you today. All it takes is one phone call for a free consultation, free blood flow evaluation. Call 1-800-210-8181. That's 1-800-210-8181.
Does your lagging laptop take ages to do anything? The fix is a new Intel Evo laptop powered by an 11th Gen Intel Core processor from Best Buy. Tons of models ready in an hour. Solution found. Details at bestbuy.com.